You're breathing so hot. A lot of political nonsense in the air. You're making it hard for the people who live in there. You're moving so fast, but baby, you know not where. Wildlife, what's gonna happen to wildlife? Animals in the zoo. Oh, oh, you'd better stop, 'cause animals everywhere. Man is the top, and animal too. And man, you've just gotta care. Wildlife, what's gonna happen to wildlife? The animals in the zoo. Breathing a lot of political nonsense in the air. You're making it hard for the people who live in there. Oh, wildlife, what's gonna happen to wildlife? Animals in the zoo. Wildlife, whatever happened to
Wildlife. Yes, indeed. Okay. Here we are, folks. Another Sunday evening, a little after 5 o'clock. Going to keep this short. Know you're all out there. This is pretty funny. Quite a few people on tonight. I see, I'm looking at, you guys can't see it, but we have quite a few viewers on tonight, and I don't know why that is. Is it because I made a mysterious post the other day saying that something about coming back to the East End, not personally me, but good news for wildlife coming back to the East End. A lot of people assumed it was me, but I'm sorry, folks. That's not going to happen. And I'll tell you why. It's very simple. It's going to be the easiest thing to explain to you folks that are 5 hours away right now. Okay? If you're driving, I hope you're not driving and watching this. Okay? But if you're at home, um, just think of what's going on downtown. Okay? Look out on your roads. Um, Open a window. Listen to the sounds outside. You hear anything? If you hear anything other than birds or wildlife, that's the reason. And I have no interest contending with traffic and people. Okay, folks, not a fan. Okay, of course I love you, folks, all my fans. You're the best people. You're the only people I like. But it's those other people. You know who I'm talking about. Those other people that treat our wildlife like crap or really don't even care about them at all. They just don't even think about it. Uh, anyway, folks, I'm just joking around with you. We do have a bunch of people on here tonight, and it's either because I did make that announcement, and then I wrote just about an hour ago or 45 minutes ago that I was going to tell folks what I meant by that post, and I'm going to do it in just a second. So hold on, I'm not going to make you watch the whole show, everybody, but I don't want to see. I don't want to see all you folks drop off after I tell you either. Or you could be here because we're going to discuss, usually I discuss interesting or fun topics, or I try to keep it light. And I told you I wouldn't talk about politics here. However, this is an episode where normally I would get really aggressive and angry, and you'd see a side of me that you'd be surprised. But I'm not even going to go there because I don't live out there anymore. I'm much more stress free and much more calm and composed, particularly when I have to think of the mess that the animals in. But I am glad that all you folks did show up. I'm not going to get real deep into the wild management topic, but that's what we're going to discuss tonight. I mean, East Hampton, are you prepared for something like that? An outbreak, something that has to do with wildlife? You had some issue happen as we came into spring over the end of winter. You have a perpetual issue with the deer and the population, as well as population of the raccoons, and uh, mostly not only the populations but also um, um, the diseases. And we're going to talk about that, and that's what I really wanted to do. I'm going to skim over some of the basics. I'm not really going to start pointing fingers. I'm only going to point a couple, but I'm not going to really get to the sources um, of the issues, rather than just really what the issues are and why, and knowing that we need to talk more about them and pay more attention. Okay, folks. So I have a few slides we're going to go over, but before I do that, let me make a couple announcements real quick. Let me not delay any longer and clear my throat. It's a beautiful day out here. I hope it's as beautiful for you, folks, back on the eastern end of Long Island or wherever you're watching from. Okay, I know we have a lot of folks that are regulars watching from other places too, which reminds me, by the way, one of our good friends here in Ware, she doesn't live in Ware, but we see her in Ware, where she works. She really was interested in. She loved this picture I showed last week from the Cornell collection And I still can't get it to focus properly because it's a real fine drawing, pencil drawing, which has so much detail, but you can't quite make the detail out because it won't hold focus on this Mac computer. However, she wanted to know information on that photo. Well, I told her it was from the Cornell Lab of Ornithology, and she was going to look from there. But Marianne, this might even help you a little better. I found out that I did some research, found out that the artist's name, this is in fact a grebe swimming with the baby on her back. The artist is Megan Bishop. Okay, and she's one of the three people from Bartell Science that she's one of the illustrators from Bartell Science, and Bartell Science hires these illustrators, several, just a few of them, every time they draw or update these photographs for media purposes, promotions, or what have you. And the three that were chosen for this past round, she was one of the three. Okay, again, one more time for you, my good friend, Marianne. Okay, Megan Bishop. All right, just in case you needed the extra information, it's Bartell's Science Illustrator. Okay, all right, let's get back to the announcements. I've waited enough. First of all, I have two of them, and the first one really wasn't about the post that I did. It's kind of even just as cool. The Pine Barrens. Hold on now. The Central Pine Barrens Commission. I told you earlier, a couple months ago, that they had asked me to participate in a film they were making for the 2026 Central Pine Barrens Commission meeting. And of course, then they put it up on their website for public viewing, as well as I think they make it available for viewing at the Learning Center, perhaps at the Pine Barrens. But folks, you really have to check this out, okay? I didn't really talk much about it because I really wanted it to be a surprise. But you folks that drive through the Pine Barrens and think that counts as having been in the Pine Barrens in any form of nature or wildlife reference, absolutely not. You're missing the heart and soul. You're just driving through the toe. Okay, you're missing all the good parts, and you have to get with the Central Pine Barrens Commission. Look on their website. I apologize. I should have had it all set up here to show you what that is. However, go online and Google it, and you'll find it. And as soon as they, as soon as they give me permission to show it, they're tightening up a few things. They wrote us. I loved it. I thought the film was great. It's about a 21-minute film. It really tells you a lot about what you folks think you thought you knew about the Pine Barrens, but you had no idea that this stuff was going on. I mean, it's really amazing. And because you're so close to it, I really think you ought to all take advantage of it and go visit them. Certainly, as things get busier in the Hamptons, this is a year-round visit place in the Central Pine Barrens. When things get too busy in the Hamptons, head west. Go there. Wait for the slow period on the highways to come home. But you'll have a day of serenity and peace and education and just beauty. The amazing things. Not to mention that they house an incredible amount of endangered species, probably the largest amount in New York State. But anyway, the film was put together by the Central Pine Barrens Commission. Many people were involved. I was very honored to be involved as well. And I can't wait for you folks to see it. And I'll, in fact, show it on here as soon as they give me the okay. The name of it is Suburban Jungle, The Animals of the Central Pine Barrens. Okay. And you'll be able to see that on YouTube when it's ready to go. And here's just a small a list of the five of us that kind of narrate the film. And if you recognize any of these folks, if you don't recognize them, you'd be right along with me. Other than the person to my right, and as we're viewing at it, your left, and that would be that gentleman there, who happens to be one of my naturalist. What do you call it? Mentors, if you would. I've been on a hike or two with Mike, but anytime I get the opportunity to speak or learn from Mike Bettini, it's always a absolute pleasure for me and a great learning experience. So I'm pretty sure, in fact, that it was Mike who got the guys to contact me, and I appreciate that, as Mike often gets me involved in these type of things. But folks, I look forward to you seeing the program. I saw it. You're going to love it. Okay. And it's going to strike up an interest. You're going to want to go see it. Okay. The big announcement that I was telling you about online, happy news for the wildlife on the east end of Long Island. All right, folks, no big deal, really. Actually, it is kind of for me. LTV contacted me and they asked me if I wanted to put my show on LTV studio at LTV TV studios, which for many of you who know me, I had several shows on there in the past, over the past decade or more. I had my Imagination Nature show. I had another show called Wild Rescue. And I had a short other series I did called Species, as well as having a bunch of, what do you call it, PSAs and little filler films I did for them, nature footage, shots, couple historical specials I did. I had a really good relationship with the folks at LTV. Big, huge props to Michael Clark, who actually is no longer there, and I'm not sure who's running the show over there. However, one of the longtime right-hand people to Michael, and the person before Michael was a wonderful young lady named Patrice Jacobson, and she actually contacted me and asked me if I was interested. And I was interested. Why not? It'll give more opportunity for viewers to see shows like this and of mine that usually always relate to wildlife and nature and or the environment in a good way, in a good positive way anyway, or we try to. Okay. Sometimes we can't avoid that. Some of the bad and darker sides of this field. But in this case, we try to just keep it educational, and we try to not show so many, really intense pictures and footage of topics that we might cover that are still important and serious and important to know about. Anyway, I still need to connect with. I need a resident sponsor to sign me on there. I know a bunch of you have offered to do that for me. Of course, I have my sister as well. Wouldn't is eligible to do that for me, but we'll figure it out, and maybe, hopefully, maybe by August. I don't know. We'll see what happens. If I don't know how long it takes them now to put new shows on, but regardless, they asked. I'm accepting. We're just working out the details, and we'll have this on LTV. Maybe both the kids show and the adult show. Okay, so certainly they can schedule it to make that appropriate. So thanks to my dear friends and family over at LTV. I really miss you guys. It's been a long time, and I appreciate all the support and help you've given me in the past. And I'd love to work together with you folks. So let's make that happen. All right, folks, let's get to the topics here. We're just going to talk about a few things. Things are basically, my questions are if something happens, if there is an outbreak of some sort, whether it's avian flu, for example, which will be returning, you can be certain of that. Probably same time next year. Depends how the winter goes, and I can assure you that climate is moving towards us having a repeat of last year, if not a little worse, right? So for those reasons, you can expect that to pay us another visit, and hopefully we can handle that a little better, and we'll get to that in a minute. But let's start to think, folks. I mean, what kind of management are you guys? Do you guys have on the eastern end of Long Island? Certainly, you have an issue with wildlife populations. You're an island, very narrow. Sticks out into the Atlantic Ocean. Comes to a point at Montauk Point. A very narrow from ocean to bay on the Nappig stretch, and it's just it puts the wildlife in a position, particularly when the population of humans start to grow, is what happens to wildlife habitat. Um, you know, Wildlife continues to be wildlife, and they procreate, and sure, there are issues and certain scientific studies that show, and I'm a big believer of, in particular of the deer, that when the habitat shrinks, the deer senses this, or biologically, their bodies will conform to the lack of habitat um, by only giving birth to one offspring rather than two, and vice versa. If they're in areas where the deer population is sparse, then the deer that are present would more than likely give birth to two fawns, maybe even triplets at this point. Okay, so the study is that's how it works, but that's not how it works with all animals. Okay, for example, the raccoon, which can have up to 10 babies in a litter, and quite often does. Okay, take it from me. I've removed many of them from homes in the Hamptons. Of course, the average is 2 to 4, most cases, but when you're doing 50 removals in a summer or more, and that's per season, you tend to add those numbers together, and you realize, at least maybe 2 or 3/10 of those are full litters. Okay, and those populations are in the same predicament of the raccoons as the deer are. Okay, they don't know. They don't know in their head's direction. Okay, so they don't know enough to, when things get crowded out east, to head west. And even if they did, what happens when all these animals hit to the Shinnecock Bridge? Um, they're going to get confused there as well, particularly when there's traffic. It doesn't happen. So basically, my point is these animals are getting stuck, okay, on the east end of Long Island. And they get pushed east, 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 except for the herds that are quite satisfied with being in their little small sanctioned areas of habitat that they've been pushed into, okay, by human impact. Okay, there's no denying this, folks. I'm not judging us as humans. We suck, plain and simple. There, let's not color this any different than what it is. This isn't a pretty picture. Okay, we're assholes, and we treat the wildlife so horribly that we've created an incredible problem that can only be solved at this point by eliminating the animals and giving us a fresh start. Well, what do you think, folks? You think a fresh start is going to do us any good? You think we'd learn our lesson? You think folks on the East End are going to learn their lesson if we eliminate 80% of the deer population? Okay. Do you think anything is going to change? No, of course not. It's not going to change. We need to have better management because there are issues. Okay, it's like filling a glass of water, and the bottom of the glass is where Montauk Point is, and the opening of the glass is facing Nassau County. Okay, your glass is full. There's nowhere for these animals to go. All right, all those trees that you took down that were home to these animals. You took them down. You put a house there. That house is now their tree. Did you think they were just going to go find another tree somewhere? Because that seems like what they would probably do. Heck no. There's other animals there. That's territory taken. These animals have no choice but to turn your home into their home, their habitat, their nurseries for their young. You took theirs away. Okay? Again, folks, you did this. You did this. So don't sit there and deny it and say it wasn't our fault and it's their fault. Their only fault is existing. And as far as I'm concerned, that's not a fault. Okay? The fault lies on humans. It always will. It always does. It always will. Okay? Let's back up a little bit. Let's talk about rodents, okay? Rodent issues. Folks, I hate to tell you this, but having been in having gotten my pesticide license in New York State many, many years ago, but knowing the field of work out there on the eastern end of Long Island, did you ever wonder why there's about 3 dozen different exterminating companies out there on the East End? All busy, might I add? It's simple. There's lots of rodents out there, okay? And apparently there's lots of unkept homes, because the only reason mice get in your homes are because you have an opening. And rather than find it and seal it and eliminate the mice coming into your home, you'd rather call an exterminator and pay them every month to feed them. Okay? And again, I always use this figure, folks, but it's so true. I mean, let's just use fake numbers, but in reality, this is true. You got 1 ounce block, one ounce block of poison. Let's say it kills 10 mice that come into your house that smell this. They come in, they find it, they eat it, they go back outside, they're dead. They're going to die. You kill 10 mice, but there's no more food left. Just crumbs and little bits and pieces and a little housing that they put it in that now still smells like the draw from the bait, okay, the poison. So what happens to the rest of the mice that are coming in for that food? Because they're going to keep coming. They smell it. They smell the remnants. They're coming in. Now they're in your house. You're going to start looking around. Where's that smell coming from? There's got to be more food here somewhere. Let's go upstairs. Let's go. Oh, here's a kitchen. Oh, somebody left an apple on the table. Folks, take the time, go out. We talked about this. Go out, look at your foundation, seal the stuff up. Enough of these rodenticides, okay? And some of you pest control companies, I'm pointing my finger at you guys too. And some of you guys, I love you guys, but you gotta help with this problem, okay? Forget the money, all right? It's not, it doesn't, it's not serving properly what needs to be done. In other words, yes, it's killing mice, but it's not killing it's not killing mice properly to where you're solving a person's problem, unless you're fixing the hole first and filling the exits and stopping the entryways. Okay? But you gotta stop with these rodenticides. You're killing everything else, folks. It's insane the amount of animals that are dying. And the animals that are dying from secondary rodenticide poison are animals that would naturally help you in the first place. They would do natural pest control. And I mean, they've been doing this. They've been doing pest control for millions of years. Okay? So they know more. They've been doing it much longer than any exterminator you've ever used or heard of. All right? And that's nature. And they do it the best. But you're killing it. You're taking what humans make to kill a mouse, and you're killing everything. Birds eat it. Insects eat it. Fish. Gosh, I remember those dummies at the village were putting mouse poison in the water at the nature trail. Okay, not in the water, right at the water's edge for rat control. But they start eating this. The crumbs fall out. It goes in the water. Do you know that fish eat this too? And do you know what happens when the fish eat it? And then an animal catches that fish and eats the fish? Yeah, that's right. That animal gets poisoned too. All right? Just like if a poisoned mouse is eaten by a snake. All right? That snake is now poisoned. That snake is eaten by a skunk or a raccoon or a fox. Okay? Now they're poisoned. And forget about it with the birds. The owls and the birds of prey, you guys should know better on the East End. That alone should mean everything to you folks. That alone, the owls and hawks that are dying on the East End of Long Island because of secondary poisoning from rodenticide use, I'm going to get those numbers because it's going to blow your mind. You're going to have smoke coming out of your ears. And if that doesn't get you to stop using rodenticides, nothing will. But folks, you're killing the very animals that will do the pest control for you. They do it better than the exterminators. They've been doing it longer, and these animals will do it for you and not bother you otherwise. You're doing everything backwards, but this rodenticide crap has to go. All right? State by state is banning rodenticides. The best thing, the best news I personally have ever could ever ask for, because I've seen so many birds of prey and other animals with secondary poisoning, many which didn't make it. Okay. And folks, as far as your home, around your home, it's simple. All right. Remove the food sources outside. Get rid of the bird seeds. I told you about this stuff. Get rid of the bird feeders and the bird seeds. Okay. Wait until the winter when it's colder. All right. And it's colder for the rodents to be out there, and you have snow on the ground. So it's not as easily turns into a rodent pit of residual food from bird feeders. And quite frankly, that's when the birds need the feed. They don't need it now. There's plenty of berries and stuff all over the trees. All right. Pick up the bird feeders, get the dog food out of the off the porch, get the water off the porch, and your compost piles. You gotta tend to that properly. All right, and remove shelters, rubbish piles, wood piles, and things like that. Okay, folks, and you'll see how easy it is. You know, rodents are probably one of the easiest things to um, to manage. And it's also one of the things that humans tend to not manage at all. In fact, they tend to hire other people to do it for them, and they don't even do it where it benefits both the animal and the customer. Okay. All right. Anyway, let's kind of move on and just talk about, look, the biggest threat to biodiversity on Earth. Here's a short list, okay? And as you can see, the source here is the World Database of Key Biodiversity Areas. They took all that information, and you can see the biggest threats to biodiversity on Earth. You know what I don't see on there? I see humans at number 3. Okay, agriculture and aquaculture, biological resource use, then human intrusions and disturbances. Okay, you go down 4, 5, and you see 6, invasive and other problematic species, genes, and diseases. Okay, now I don't want you folks to be confused. They're not talking about animals, wildlife in a literary sense. They're talking about invasive and other problematic species. This could mean vegetation, which is generally what it does mean. Okay, or if you do want to not disregard invasive species, animal species, well then yes, they are problematic. If they're in an area thriving where they shouldn't be, well then they're taking away from a species that is natural to the area, and that's not good to biodiversity in any case. Okay, but on this list, okay, nowhere is it saying that animals are a threat. Okay, however, I put this here because I did want you to see that humans are the third because of their intrusions and disturbances that we all know of. Okay, all right, folks, let's talk really quickly about uh, uh, um, these 3 subjects I wanted to talk to you about. Okay, actually, I don't want to talk about this one yet. I want to talk about the raccoon issue. Okay, and the raccoon issue is an issue you all need to be very concerned about. Not only because your populations have boomed. Okay, what was it, 10 years ago? I did the research myself and came up with 24 raccoons per square mile. Now it's up to and over 50 per square mile, and that's about what, 14, almost 15 years later. So, like I said, they don't have that biological sense of they're going to start having less litters because there's no room. They don't know. So they're going to keep having litters, and you're going to get to a point you're going to end up in another 10, 15 years with 80 to 100 per square mile. Okay, and unless there can be a way to figure this out, and that's wildlife management. Okay. But the problem is you don't wait for the problem to happen before you try to figure out a solution. These are not easy problems to figure out. Okay. So you need to have a plan in place, and that's a wildlife management plan. Okay, for emergency purposes, whether it's an outbreak or an overpopulation disturbance where it causes both property damage and human injury. Absolutely, you better be prepared for it. Okay, I want you folks to know that there have been 16 cases of rabies in Suffolk County. All right, now look, when I was there, weren't rabies at all. It was eradicated. Okay, they did the bait rack vaccination. I think Cornell did it back in 2011 or 2009. We talked about this once before, and it was very successful. And they completely eradicated rabies on Long Island. Okay, but as time goes by, of course, they stopped doing the Vaxabate systems once it worked, and the studies came that it was eradicated, it was gone. There was no reason to continue doing it. However, somehow it got reintroduced, okay, and it spread, and the vaccination in these animals they're not meant to last forever in some of these cases, most cases. And in this case, it wasn't. So here we are with a growing problem of rabies again. Now, this is a serious thing. This is again a neurological. Look, folks, when it comes to damaging nerves, neurological diseases and stuff like this, not to be messed with. Okay, there's either permanent damage or it will strictly lead to death. Okay, so rabies is one of them, and it's making a comeback. Let me see. What did I do? A little research on this. Yes, now they're thinking about doing the bait again. First, what they used to do, they thought good wildlife management, diseased animals, kill them all, kill all the animals. Okay. But as time went by, and I apologize, I keep looking at the clock. I don't want to go too long for you folks. But as time goes by, these vaccinations wear off. Not sure if that's what I was talking about, but I do want to say that this has been very successful, what they were using last time. Rabarol VRG was used in France, Belgium, Ukraine, where else? Canada and the U.S., okay? And there was success in all these places. All right? So they're going to use it again. And of course, now there's, you're not killing any animals. So the animal folks aren't up in arms because animals aren't getting hurt. In fact, they're only getting helped. So they have no problem with this. And they're fixing to do it again, and I applaud that. And I think because they give this Rabanol VRG, they give it out to city ordinances that have issues. I'm not sure why the town of East Hampton and the village of East Hampton and Southampton doesn't ask the government for a supply of this stuff that they can easily use um, locally in their wooded areas. Boy, what an idea. Okay. This is how you prevent things from happening. Even if the county or the state is doing something, bring it home. Bring it home. It's available to municipalities that have issues with raccoons, particularly ones with rabies. You fit all the necessities to uh, qualify to get this stuff. So why wouldn't you do it when you know that rabies is on the comeback? Okay. And the reason is you wait till the last minute until somebody gets bit, gets rabies. Okay. And then you start talking about it. All right. I think you folks need to start talking about this stuff now, or you're going to end up with the deer situation. You're going to end up with a big problem and very little solutions, at least fundamentally for animal rights activists, as well as, the human population. My favorite. Anyway, yeah. Unfortunately, they don't have a oral vaccine for the distemper virus for raccoons. So I highly recommend you continue to get your vet to vaccine your dogs with the DHPP or the DAPP vaccination. It's absolutely necessary, folks, because you're going to have distemper issues like you've never seen before on the eastern end of Long Island. Okay? And nobody's going to be able to answer questions or help you with it. Okay? Because there's no knowledge or plan out there of what to do when it happens. Okay? I suggest you start talking to your leaders about this stuff. Okay? I couldn't get the mayor of the village to answer questions when we had the bird flu issue. Okay? I said to him, he wrote me, he said, God, Dale, I wish you called me. This didn't even happen on village property. I said, well, first of all, it didn't all, since the village border goes down Georgia Capon, I'm sure the ducks didn't all float to the town side and not the village side. But regardless, the village beaches are neighboring to the east. So I think it's a big concern of what happens to any bird that is infected with bird flu or avian flu virus. I think it was important. So when there was big kerfuffle about it not being handled correctly, I asked Mayor Larson online. I said, "What would you have done?" And I never got an answer. So I know there's no plan in place. Okay, and it's gonna happen again. Well, I also know that the mayor called the gentleman, my friend Michael Tessitore, who handled the whole bird flu issue for Southampton like a pro, and got rid of all those birds up island. Got rid of them into some sort of a dump pit where it was completely eradicated. Okay, what did we do? What did the town of East Hampton do, or the village? Well, it was none of their concern. They left it to the wonderful East Hampton town trustees, okay, who are the stewards of the beach. Okay, wonderful group of folks. I was actually a trustee myself. That's a long story. Actually ran for it because they refused to pay a bill for me picking up garbage on the beach that they didn't want to help me with. So when they told me good luck on getting paid for that bill, I ran for trustee and won with flying colors, and they paid their bill. They paid their bill. They paid it probably 4 or 5 times more than they needed to, but This is the type of organization this is. Okay. And what did they do for East Hampton when the birds were, when over 700 birds were on the beach? What is it? Clean up at Georgia Capon. 700 plus dead geese. What did they do? I'm going to tell you what they did. They buried them right on the beach. How about that, huh? Right on your beach, where the people. This was just, I don't know, weeks before the summer crew came out. Yeah, nice shallow grave right on the beach. Hundreds of carcasses. Your local Cook Hampton even found this to be a little nutty. Okay. Yeah, not too bright. Really a bad idea. The whole shebang was not a good idea, folks. Okay. And when people went to the trustee meeting and spoke to Mr. Grimes, we had a nice young lady who was very concerned about walking their dog on the beach. So she wanted to know where it was on the beach where they buried him. And James Grimes, the trustee, said he didn't want to tell anybody because he didn't want those knuckleheads going and finding them and digging them up. That's what knuckleheads would do, right? Well, unfortunately, that kind of backfired because really there's only one knucklehead out of this whole picture, and that was Trustee Grimes for even getting involved and putting his touch, his stench on this situation. And what did he say to the woman when she had concerns? This was his reply to her.
Never once.
That's not what I'm here for.
Interacting, but I'm gonna target you, Mrs. Daniels.
Wait, you're gonna target me?
Not target.
I'm sorry, where's the target?
No,
Where is
I'm
it
gonna
really?
speak.
Is it here? Where is it?
Uh-oh.
To the fact
Uh-oh.
In here in peace.
Yeah.
And I don't want to
Yeah.
hear the word target. I don't want to hear the word target.
Okay.
It's a very,
Poor
very,
choice of words.
thank you. Okay.
I'm gonna target you.
Yeah. What a dumbass. All right? He ain't targeting anybody. He's a nobody. Okay? And he had a lot of nerve saying that. They it did backfire on because Mayor Larson tried to get people to vote for him for the Democratic committee seat, and he didn't quite get the vote. And that's because he doesn't really do things properly. All right, he targets people, he points fingers, and he's disrespectful, and he does stupid shit like burying infectious carcasses on public beaches, okay, or public used beaches, okay. So not the kind of people you need leading the folks in East Hampton, particularly when it comes to wildlife and wildlife emergencies or any wildlife management situation. All right. I suggest you keep Mr. Grimes out of it. In fact, I suggest you keep the trustees out of it. They made an official statement because they wanted to be transparent. But it really was filled with just a bunch of bullshit as well. Just full of bull. They contradicted themselves. They put out this statement, and they were told that the DEC told them what to do, and the letter showed that they did the job first, and then called the DEC afterwards to make sure that they were doing things. Oh, it's just a big mess. It's just a mess, folks. Okay? Keep the trustees out of your business. That's my best advice to you folks. Okay, none of them are worth their weight in intelligence, as far as I'm concerned. Okay. And now, lastly, I want to just break down on the last issue you folks are going to need to do something about. Okay. And that's the white-tailed deer. Okay. Just kind of giving you the dynamics here. You could see population dynamics just over 7 years. You can go from two deer to up to 40 or more. Okay. And of course, that doesn't include vehicle strikes and diseases, which, of course, vehicle strikes are very much part of this equation. But generally, just look at that breakdown of the dynamics. I mean, that's how it functionally works in the 7 year period. Okay. Excuse me. And the effects of deer density and habitat management, well, we all know what it is. I mean, you're seeing it there, not only with vehicle strikes, but increased tick densities, okay? Increased diseases, tick-borne diseases, a decrease in ground nesting birds, invasive plants, increase of invasive plants because of the decrease in native plants, okay? And just these poor deer and their overall health is just becoming quite sad. Here's a little graph from 2024 showing all the deer strikes from vehicles. That's not good, folks. And the red dots, those were human injuries associated with those strikes. Look, we can't get into this. This is going to be a whole show, all right? But there is no such thing as a cruelty-free deer management program, folks. That has long gone. That is over with. Okay, there's not much that you can do at this point, rather other than either get these deer, ship them out somewhere, or you're going to have to cull them. All right, or leave things as is and continue to watch the populations grow into such a catastrophic condition where you're going to have the most sickly deer, saddest deer running around, and you're going to still be hitting them with your cars and forget about it. I don't even want to get into all this right now. But we know the sterilization process was not a go. All right. The village hired those White Buffalo Incorporated, that nonprofit, the White Buffoons. Remember, they come in early January during a hard winter at night, tracked and tranquilized over 100 female deer. Of course, that didn't include the accidental male yearlings that they also tranked accidentally because they couldn't tell the difference. And then surgically sterilized those does by doing ovarectomies in the field at the East Hampton Village Public Works Shed. Okay, non-sterile conditions. The people doing it were wearing weren't wearing sterile garments over their normal clothing, other than a mask and some latex gloves. And all of this at a cost of $1,000 per deer, folks. A complete failure. Complete and utter failure. And this was put together by the mayor, the village mayor. That was Mayor Paul Rickenback and his trustees. Also, very, very heavily involved was the Village Preservation Society of East Hampton, headed by Kathy Cunningham. Another complete waste of time. Wrong person to be involved in anything to do with wildlife. She completely screwed that whole operation up, even though it was set to doom from the beginning. It wasn't going to work. Okay, and the East Hampton Village Ladies Auxiliary even had a little percentage of help in there, although I don't hold it too much against them. I think they were just trying to do the right thing and added a little help in there, but I'm not sure they realized really all the damage that was going to be caused, much like Kathy Cunningham and her crew at the Preservation Society. They knew quite well the damage it was going to cause. And were happy to fail, believe me. And they did fail miserably. All that money and all those poor deer harmed, and money spent for absolutely no reason at all. Nothing. Did nothing. Okay. Chronic waste disease, folks. It's not a happy thing. It's ugly. It's going to hit the does first. It's going to hit the bucks first more than the does. So the populations will go down, but not in a good way. Okay. This is not a healthy thing. We don't want to reduce the populations through disease. Okay. And I do want to end this, folks, by just a quick thing I did want to clear up. You guys have a big issue with the deer. Okay. You're going to have to do something. All right. I don't want the deer killed. I don't know if there's any other way. Okay. I have to take a step back and apologize. I got to man up and apologize for something I said many years ago when I was at a party, a fundraising party for the wonderful Dr. Scarlett Magda from the Veterinarians International, the founder. And she, at one of her swag bags, was giving away a wonderful book by Carl Safina, a local Amagansett down there in Lazy Point, and wonderful philosophy on animals. And the book was called Beyond Words, What Animals Think and Feel. And Carl was actually talking about how the deer wanted to die. I'm not quoting Carl, okay, but what I got out of it is his way of saying that the deer wanted to die. They're not healthy. They're not enjoying their habitat that they've been pushed into. It's not a good situation for them, being struck by cars and their young being killed because of the impact they have on humans and humans have on them, getting hung up on fences, impaled on fences, and stuck between fences, and all this stuff. Okay. And with all that evidence that I just said, I was adamant against him. And I was like, what does he know what the animals are thinking? I know what they're thinking. They're thinking they want to live just like every other living thing. And I really kind of gave Carl a hard time about this. Not a big deal in public. I wasn't bad mouthing him, but I did. I was very angry and I was put off. And when I did see him at other wildlife events, fundraising events, I avoided him because I didn't agree with this philosophy. However, I have to apologize to him because the more I see what's going on, the more I believe his theory to be true. In fact, I really do. And I just don't feel that these deer are in an emotional state now where they have any quality of life living the way they're living. Okay? And folks, we'll get into this more on another episode. But I did want to say that. And I also have to add, since I did say that, is I'm a little conflicted as well, because I've also worked with another great person who I find as to be a great inspiration to me and my personal philosophy with wildlife, and that's awesome Dr. Bill Crane, okay? And his philosophy is just the opposite. Now, like Carl, he doesn't have a solution, okay? That's obvious. But Bill his solution is obvious too, and that is not to kill these animals, because in fact they do have an emotional state and a sense of consciousness where they love, and they love family, and they survive in family, and they protect their young, and for that being the case, it would be an abomination to mass cull any species. Okay, and I have to agree with that as well. But what's more important? Protecting the species, feelings, or protecting their health and ultimate demise or survival. It's a very tough situation, folks. I don't have the answer. That's not what we're going to end this on. There's no way. I wish I did. I wish somebody did, that we could even talk about, but we don't. But I'd love to talk about it. So if anybody has any good ideas and wants to discuss this or knows how to continue this conversation, please, folks, please write to me. Okay. Send me an email, call me, message me. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what we should talk about, how we should moving forward with the deer, or any management plan on the eastern end of Long Island. What are we going to do, folks? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Well, let's find out before it happens to you. Okay? Look, folks, I appreciate you joining me. Join me next Saturday for the kids show, or for you kids. Tell your kids to join me next Saturday. I hope they weren't watching this episode. I really do. I apologize for the rough, coarse language I used. But you folks join me next Sunday at 5, and we'll continue this conversation, and we'll get on with our weekly education. Okay, my friends, have a wonderful week ahead. Hope you had a great weekend. And remember, wildlife matters, folks. Don't forget that, okay? Very important. And I thank you. And we'll see you next week.
Taking a walk through an African park one day, I saw a sign say animals have the right of way. Wildlife, whatever happened to wildlife, the animals in the zoo? You're breathing so hot, a lot of political nonsense in the air.